it's TDG here. We're going to be bringing you a power ranking for Kakuna. And I've already kind of done some of the work. I only have a little bit, I don't really have a script, but I already have a little bit, down, and I'm just going to make a few small changes throughout the video to what I already have. Just based on, I don't know, kind of like the range of where they could end up. And to me, there's a couple drafts that I could have ranked last that I just don't like. But I'm just gonna go with the pick that I think I'm most confident isn't a good draft. Not the one that I think is the worst. The one I'm the most confident it's bad. That's how I'm gonna start this off. And the draft, I feel like I'm the most confident it's not really good, is Rampage's draft, the Singapore Storm Shards. I just don't like this draft. All the mons I feel like are somewhat one-dimensional. When you look at this, you see Weavile, you mean it can run like Swords Dance or Band, but it's still running the same kinds of coverage. It doesn't really have any way to switch it up. Like, it's great and all, but you're going to be running the same type of thing every week. You get Melodic, it's got like a diverse move pool, but again, it's playing the same role every single week. Haxorus, it gets Dragon Dance and SD, and maybe can break with like a Band. I think that's one of his more versatile mons. Donphan, I feel like, is not versatile. But it does get like the Rock Polish, Weakness Policy, or something like that set. Cradley's definitely not versatile. I don't think Medi's that versatile. Blaze is extremely unversatile. And then he has Golbat, which I don't really feel super great. Goth, very one-dimensional, and Magnezone I think is also somewhat one-dimensional. So I feel like his team is overall really one-dimensional. It's ground weak. You can tell because his only ground resist is Golbat, and I also feel like Fairies will just be able to run HP ground unless Golbat comes into the picture. And he's hazard removal really relies a little bit on Golbat. So I feel like Golbat is getting pressure to do so much for this team. I don't feel like that is very good for it. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on it to put in work. I feel like the team is ice weak. I feel like Melodic is really the only good ice resist on this team. I don't feel like he has good hazard settings. I feel like Donphan and Cradley as your only two hazard sitters isn't a very strong. I don't feel like that's very strong. I feel like that's going to force Donphan to come to almost every game, and Golbat's already probably coming to most every game. I don't really think that's a good idea. I think ghost types give this team a problem. Its only ghost resist is Weavile, and I don't feel like that's acceptable. It has 3 ghost weaknesses. I feel like that's definitely not optimal. There's really not a lot to say about like some of the lower tier picks, like or not even some of the lower. I mean, some of the mid tier picks, like Magnezone. I don't feel like it's that good for 100. I mean, it's not bad value. Goth, I don't think is that great for 120. It's like I don't really see anything that really stands out as like a super good steal to me. Other people might feel differently about that because that's very subjective. But I don't really see anything that I think stands out as something that's a steal. So I feel like he's weaker on the value side. It does support Mega Medi well with Weavile by removing Psychics, but I don't think he does that well with Fairies, like I mentioned earlier. I don't think he has a lot of synergy. I just don't. I don't think he has great synergy. I think he has some really basic things that draft might need. Like he's decent speed tiers. And when I say decent, I just mean acceptable. I don't think they're fantastic by any means. Uh, I just don't see a lot that I really like. Honestly, like it has good priority options. I guess that's one thing I really have to give it. I don't think Goth and Magnezone synergize well at all. I feel like you already have a trapper, and Magnezone just does the same job. Um, Not really beating the same mons, but I mean they both trap, so like you're not changing much. I would say Rampage's draft is definitely my 16th pick. Um, I just don't see it really synergizing that well. Yeah, and I also feel like Weavile isn't a very strong Zmon. Haxorus is good. Blaze is pretty good. I don't think he has the best users in the world. I also don't even like Weavile for 180. So yeah, that is definitely not really optimal to me. My 15th pick was originally my 16th because I actually think I feel like this is the worst draft. Um, Looking at it like really close, and I think Jarrett's draft is 15th. But I think he'll make it work. I think Jarrett will be able to make this work. I think there's some things that it does have going for it. Where Rampage's draft, I feel like there's less going for it, but it does have some of the more basic things done right, like or done a little bit better than Jarrett's. Where like Rampage, I think his removal like is a little bit better than Jarrett's. Jarrett's removal is just defog Zapdos, and I don't think that's a very good idea at all. Really, I think hazard stacking will be a problem for his team. Yeah, I definitely think that is an issue. Um, so it's also going to confine Zapdos into a role, which I personally don't think is a good idea at all, because Zapdos is not worth 180 points when it's confined to being a defogger. And at that point, you can get a better defogger for cheaper, in my opinion. Maybe not with the same typing, but I think you can. And I think this team has a clear speed deficit. I think Cobalion is piss weak. Personally, I think that. Sceptile is fast, but yeah, that's his only really good speed option, in my opinion. Which that's to me that's bad. There only happens to be like one resist to Psychic, which is Necrozma, which I think is okay. Dark, which is like, well, it's 2 to Dark, but or 3 actually. No. Okay, yeah, 3 to Dark. I don't know what I was looking at. 1 to Psychic though. And I believe 1 to Fairy. Yeah, that was Fairy, not Dark. Okay. Might have been thinking. Yeah. Okay. Might have been thinking of Ghost. Okay. Yeah. So it was 1 resist to Fairy being Arcanine, which I don't think is good because of Stealth Rocks. It's pretty toxic weak, like honestly, but I think he'll run Rest a lot. Honestly, on this like Manaphy, Necrozma, and Regirock definitely has like potential. I could see like Rest coming quite a bit, and that's definitely something I can see. The only cleric on the team is Manaphy, so I don't feel like he really dealt with his issue with like toxic that well, even if he's gonna run Rest. And the momentum like is okay on the team. Like it has good rockers, I guess. Like it's just not really that threatening either to me. Like Necrozma and Manaphy are pretty threatening. I think Bulu can be, depending on the matchup. The rest, I don't really feel like it's that threatening. But I mean, I think Manaphy and Necrozma are threatening enough that he can make it work, and I think Skeptile can be as well, and Zapdos can kind of be dominating in like defensively. Because it's Necrozma and Cobalion, I think, have good synergy. Uh, but is also I want to mention, even though his speed tiers are bad, I mean, combined with his speed tiers being bad, his scarf options aren't good either. Because if you're really thinking about it, like his fastest scarf option, it's either Arcanine, and if you don't consider that a good scarf option, it's Boo, and that's 75 base speed. So you really don't have any good speed on this team. I feel like it's weak to Psychic as well. It has that speed deficit. And weak to hazards. I think Calm Mind's also a problem for like faster Calm Mind mons because like if you look at the team and you're thinking of like a Psychic Calm Mind mon, like mainly Psychic, but other types too. It's pretty specially oriented, like for breakers and stuff, and I think that's a little bit of a problem on the team as well. But yeah, in the end, I think Jarrett will make this team work. I just really don't like it. Yeah, it definitely has its own problems. And I guess that's all I have to really say on the team. So my 14th team, this is tougher because there's a lot of teams I feel like kind of like belong here. But I have to think about that. Let's say there's a few I'm thinking between. I guess I'll go with Zern for my 14th pick because I really don't like his draft that much. I'm gonna like, and his good speed tiers. First off, like, or not good, but like usable. Except it's like it's just capsule basically. It's like how can I say? The tiers aren't that bad. It's just that obviously they don't reach a very high amount. They 111 is slow, and that was one of the bigger problems. Like, I feel like the rockers are limited too, which like you have Mew, you have Powdon, and that's about it. I think, yeah, that's it. That's it. It doesn't have any like Ice Shard or Fairy. So Scissor Mega ends up being his only Dragon Resist. I think that's a problem. Even though he has like Olomomola, which is like bulky as hell. Like his breakers, like you look at his breakers, is just Hoopa and Manchao and Thundi. I think those are definitely like sufficient. Oh, and Dragalge, those are definitely sufficient. It doesn't feel like the wish support really benefits his team. In my opinion, I think it doesn't benefit his team at all. But he drafted a Lumomola Licky, and I don't really understand that. I understand a Bulky Water, but the role that he's trying to have a Lumomola fill, I don't think it fills very well. And that's one of the reasons I dislike. I just kind of dislike almost just the entire lower half of the draft. I don't think it fits in very well. I don't think like these mons really synergize together. I don't think they have any synergy. It has like in those limited rockers definitely like make me very confined to a role. I mean, is he gonna run like Stealth Rocks Powdon every single week? Maybe he might have to, but like I don't think that's. I don't like that. Like that's to me, I think that's a bad idea. I feel like this team is just. I don't know. I just don't really like it because I feel like it doesn't really support. Like I feel like his support doesn't really do anything. and he wasted points on it to me. And like, but he also only he doesn't have like a Z hoop a U as well, so that kind of hurts its sweeping potentials. That's not the biggest problem, obviously. That's a nitpick, to be honest. And yeah, it's just like he has decent things like your Galgi like gets toxic spikes like, and I think that kind of benefits his team a little bit. Um, but some like Wicca Wiki, Simisear, and Omomoa all feel like a waste of points to me. And 3 mons down the drain leaves you with like 8 mons, right? So you're basically stuck with this 8 mon draft. And the 8 mon draft that you do have isn't that good. Like, it's not that much better than anyone else's. That's really my problem. Is I don't really think. And Omomoa is only water. So, like, that's another reminder. Like, what's he doing? Like, and not only is his only water, other than Dragalge, is his only water resist too. So like, Scald or something, yeah, Scald's just gonna be able to kind of tear through him. And yeah, I really can't get down on that. So yeah, Zernand is probably the third worst draft in my opinion. At 14. Number 13, I would have to give that to. I think I'd have to give that to Ben. Like, Ben's draft has the same problem with the speed. It's definitely too slow. I feel like it's hyper focused on win cons. There's not enough of them. You have Serp and you have Mega Gallade. I think those are both very good win cons, but at the same time, I don't see anything else. Like, let's say he screws up in a game and one of those mons dies. I can't really see very much else actually pulling the game in his favor. I feel like Hydreigon might be able to do that, but overall, there's just a lack of actual win cons. It's a slow draft. It's hyper focused on win cons, and its dark resists are limited. I think it's only what's his dark resist? The Hydreigon. Okay, that's his only dark resist. And when you're looking at the Z users, you can kind of see that there's not like a whole ton of power on this draft. There's like, if you're using Gardevoir as a Z user, you probably didn't plan out your Z users that well, in my opinion. You probably just drafted what you thought the best Z users were. And that's fair, but I feel like it doesn't lead to a power draft. Yeah, I feel like Araquanid does suit the draft pretty well because it's so slow. Yeah. And his draft isn't low on breakers. He has good breakers. It's just he doesn't have like sweepers, win cons, like actual things that can win the game for him. Like, Nidoqueen's not winning you the game. Miltank's not winning you the game. Skarm's probably not winning you the game. Rotom Fan's obviously not. It's probably never going to come. Gastrodon, I feel like, is overrated. Well, not overrated. That's the wrong word. I think it's fine where it's tiered. I think people treat it as good as about as good as it is. I just don't feel like it puts in a ton of work in certain matchups. It's just bringable in a lot of matchups. So it's not dominating in prep at all. Iraq is not a win con. Obviously, like, you can't use Iraq as win con. Gardevoir, like, I guess could be a win con, but I don't really see it being a very good one. Like, in some matchups, it could be a win con with like Scarf or something. Hydreigon, I know can be. I personally don't think it's the best win con you can have, and Serp is obviously a good win con. So, like, to me, I don't know. It's just not the best in that regard. Where I mean, I feel like other drafts, even like Rampage's draft, had a little bit more ability to form a different win con. I feel like Ben is kind of focused. And combining that with his poor speed, it's not really like that good. Like other than that, though, what Ben does have is he has like reliable hazards. I feel like Skarm, Nidoqueen, and Miltank is very good for stealth rockers. Uh, his hazard removal is Skarm, Rotom Fan, and Hydreigon. I think Skarm and Superior. I think Skarm is his really like reliable defogger, and his others are just kind of backup. He might end up having to bring Skarm almost every week just for that. Like every week that he really needs to fog at least, because this draft isn't really that rock week. Which I do have to give it that. Like this isn't a bad draft by any means. I think this is actually a fine draft. I just think it's kind of limited in how it's going to win, how it's going to wrap up the game. And that kind of, to me, that's a big problem. At least the way I build. I think maybe the way Ben builds, it will be easier for him, but I think it's a big problem. At least the way I do things. I also feel like other than Skarmory and Miltank, his walls like they're there. Just not like I just wouldn't call Gastro. It's not taking wall breaker hits ever. It's not fat pretty much. Like his bulk is bulky, but it's not fat. Other than like I wouldn't even call Skarm fat. I would call Miltank fat, but I wouldn't call Skarm fat. He doesn't really have any fat. Not that you need fat. I think his draft is actually like has decent bulk as it is. But when you have like a slower team, I feel like you pretty much appreciate fat. Like you need some fat to go with that slower team. I don't really like how that works. Like because his team is slow, and that is clearly a problem. And Serp also doesn't have an immediate power, so like Glade is his only option for a fast like immediate power. I mean, he does have good scar. He also does have good Scarfers. Again, this team is not bad by any means. I could be saying more positive things right now. It's just that he's at number 13 on the list, and I feel like I have to give like a justification for why he's there. But realistically, I think this draft is fine. I think really it's not that much worse than number 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever. It's not that bad, okay? I'd say this is about where I think the drafts are decent. I just think they may or may not be flawed to a significant or not significant extent. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what I think Ben will go with this team, but I think he might do well. But yeah, I mean, Kakuna is very strong this season. I'm really not sure about anybody. Except I feel like the last three that I did name, I honestly have like, I wouldn't say they have good drafts at all. That's about where the curve I think is. So my next pick, I think I'd go with Lapis, number 12. Like I just don't feel like his speed tier is capped that high. And that was one of my bigger problems with his draft. And that was like the biggest problem I had with Lapis's draft. And the drafts after him, I think, do a much better job in like a lot of different aspects. But his draft definitely isn't bad per se. One sec. Probably wrote the shortest thing on him. So I'm just going to look a little bit closer for a second. And I might be wrong about this one a little bit because I just did this off. I think speed's very like important unless you have a big niche, and I just don't feel like that this draft has that. Oh yeah, I remember now. Okay, so he has but she had okay. Um, my bad. She has good. And she has an issue with hazard removal, like other than Moltres. Like it's Kartana and Empoleon. I feel like Empoleon's like the only realistic removal on the team. The top is slow. I think it's weak to waters. Like its grass is Roselia, and it has no electric type. And the pivoting like on this team, he has Meloetta and Reuniclus, which I don't understand how those pair together. Like Persian can be a pivot. Other than that, though, I don't know if Moltres gets U-turn, but other than those few, I don't really see a good like. I think so. There's Meloetta, which is U-turn. Regenerator Reuniclus just gets Regenerator. There's Parting Shot Persian, and then there's maybe if Moltres gets U-turn Moltres. Like that's all right. Like for an offensive team, it could be better. I definitely think. I'm not really a big fan of like Z Kartana. I think Z Moltres would have been nice, especially given how cheap it is. And then you could have done like Z Moltres and maybe even Z Empoleon. I think that would have been better than like what she has. Yeah, honestly, I think there's like a lot of weight on Empoleon for being the defogger, but is it also it's also the only reliable steal on the team, which is even more weight for it because Kartana isn't really reliable. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad draft, like, but it's slow and all those problems I just listed. Like, other than that, everything's okay. I don't really see a problem other than those things. Like, it has good breakers. It's synergized pretty well. Other than that, has trick room option. Toxic spikes, which I really am a fan of. But again, a cleaner is really appreciates those things. She doesn't have a cleaner. I guess you can run like Periat Meloetta, but yeah. But she does have great Scarfers as well. So that is a way that she can get past the speed. I just, the speed deficit is a problem, especially when some of the Scarfers she does have are like Garchomp and Keldeo, which if they lock themselves into like fighting ground or dragon, something immune to that could come in, and that's a problem. So yeah, I'm not really a big fan of that. Relying completely on Scarfers as speed options, I don't think that's good. Yeah, man, I kind of I do think like John C. Mega and like Garchomp and Kartana and Keldeo is super threatening. I just think like faster offense is just so dominating against this team. Like if you look at Tapu Koko's matchup against this team, or a mon similar to that, even like Weavile, you'll just notice how difficult really things are for the team. It's really gonna struggle with matches that have Pokemon like Tapu Koko, Weavile, or that hit that speed tier that's higher. And a lot of people have those things. So that's my justification for Lapis being at 12. My number 11 is Shinyspam who I believe has a super dangerous draft, to be honest. Like, don't get me wrong, this draft is like scary as shit to play. This would be one of the drafts. If you have the best draft, this is the scariest draft to play. Because even though it's 11, I'm really saying that because its consistency won't be very high, I don't think. This is the type of draft that is hard for even the user to actually use. Just because there's so many freaking options that you're going to have to consider in team building. There's so many little gimmicks that this team has. And to me, like, this is the type of team whenever I draft it, and I'm like, this is like, there's so many things I could do with this. I usually don't like this type of draft, to be honest, but I don't know if Shinyspam frequently does that, or if this is his first time drafting a draft that's just built around like little gimmicks and like a million different options. So basically, getting started, I think this is definitely a hazard stacking team. And Hitmontop being his main removal. And to me, the big problem here was that he actually himself is very weak to stealth rocks. You can see it right here. He's weak. Sculpede's weak. Sneasel's weak. Volcanian's weak. Bravery's weak. That's some of his better. Those are some of his better mods too. So we can agree to that. So like everyone should agree that 4 mods weak to stealth rock is pretty weak. And you would think his team would have to match up against Ghostwell if Hitmontop was his main source of hazard removal. And you see like Sneasel, Bravery, so it's not terrible, but I still think Ghost types running Will-O-Wisp will be a little bit of an issue. And yeah, I mean it's not a terrible issue. But it is something you're gonna have to consider if you week by week using Hitmontop as hazard removal. I think Bravery does a great job on this team. I think it's able to punish defoggers, make ghost types do worse, and I think I know this that Decidui was in part drafted spin block or do things like that, and I think it's relatively good at the job. Like this team is synergized pretty well. I think this is like another step up to me. The speed is pretty good, really good actually. And I think Sharpedo and Sculpey can both clean very well. Irish can break very well. Things are looking good, you know. So I feel like it does a decent job, with Sneasel and Jerkatry, to punish mons that are really immune to some of those hazards that he has. And the one thing I do dislike is that Deoxys defense is his only really good wall, I think, on a hazard stacking team. And other than that, it's rather frail, which is a little bit of a problem. And I think you are going to have to play differently just to deal with Deoxys defense, which makes it unique. But there's also that problem that still comes up, that it's not that bulky, and it's still a hazard stacking team. So yeah, I mean, that is a little bit of a problem. And let's be realistic. I don't think its pivoting is that good. It has okay pivoting. It has Lando, Zerk, Bravery, and Decidui, it looks like. So, because Sculpey is not running Baton Pass. And yeah, I mean, we're just not going to see great pivoting. It's not like a hyper offense team where everything keeps going. Yeah, it won't really work like that. But it is very threatening. Right? I do think that there's a decently significant fire weakness. Volcanian is his only resist. It is weak to rocks. I think that is a little bit of a problem. Klefki is his only dragon resist. I think that's another problem, like especially when you play like Hydreigon. There's so many options to consider, such as like Reflect on Klefki and Skull Whipping SD sweeping, because it's also a Z user. Xurkitree running its Z move, Xurkitree scarfing around, there's Klefki spike stacking, Skull Whipping Toxic Spike. I mean, there's a million fucking things this team can do. Almost all revolve around Sharpedo in the end, but yeah. Priority options for other teams, if they're very good, they might be able to dominate because realistically, Priority is extremely good against the team. I feel like Trick Room is also extremely good. You can tell right here that like Hitmontop is his slowest mon, and I think it's tied with something, but I don't give a fuck. And yeah, it just goes straight through him. Trick Room goes straight through this team. Ghost types, again, like I mentioned, and the phasing options on this team, but it doesn't really matter that much. So like in the end, this is a good draft, but it's like it has its problems. I think it's a good draft, even though it's like what do they rank it 11? It's a good draft. It'll work. Yeah. So I guess moving on to the number 10. I think the number 10 draft, even after it all came together, is still AJ. Even after all the mistakes on the draft. Because synergistically, it's bad. To me. But the breakers on this team are phenomenal. The value is great. Speed tiers, great. Always fine. Good hazard setting, good scarfers, pivoting, sweepers. I mean, even like its hazard removal too is still good. Like, it's not really a fundamental basic issue with the draft. It's just the synergy is an issue. That's his issue. Komala is kind of a waste in Misty Terrain because it was immune to all the status conditions anyways. And Torn Eye, I think, is a value problem, by the way. Registeel in Misty Terrain is incredibly passive. Uxie is incredibly passive. It can still be toxic, too. Not only are his walls passive, but I feel like Lilligant won't be able to run Sleep Powder in either terrain. That is a big problem. He actually is relatively weak to poison. He drafted Azumarill and Tapu Fini, so he pretty much stabbed those two types, and they really don't work that well together. So I think AJ will have no fucking problems, to be honest. But I think his walls will be affected. And that might be really the main problem. His team may be set up fodder, unless he figures something else out. His team is just set up fodder because his walls don't work with Tapu Fini. And that is about it. I mean, his team is threatening as shit. He might deserve to be higher on this list. But the mistakes he made were just so amateur. Like, they were just so, like, basic, I think. That... And there's so many of them. That, like, little tiny issues that I think... you really can't rate it that much higher. It's a little bit of a silly draft. It's super threatening. I really wouldn't want to play it. Even though it, I just said it was number 10. We really shouldn't be number 10. Like, really, I'm going to just say it now. It's only number 10 because the other drafts above it are acceptable. And even though this draft is power, there's it's a waste, basically. It's a waste of what it could have been. I think there's another draft like that that I rated a little bit higher, like a lot higher. But um, yeah, this could be number 10, but you also, I could understand somebody if they actually put this in the top 5. Like, really, like with a couple free agencies, this could be a top 5 draft, and no question about it. It could be the number like 3, in my opinion. Like, but not having his walls, like his walls are gonna be shit. Honestly, like yeah. Um, that's all I think. I think he'll be able to play through that, and he really won't bring any of his low tier mons anyways. So why like yeah, 10 is I don't know how I feel about even giving that 10. I might even want to say, yeah, I think I'm going to say that this is 9, and the next one is going to be my 10th pick. I think that's more reasonable. This probably should be 9th, okay? So my actual 10th pick will be Bfree, his team. Like his issues, to me, it's just value based. I think Agron's a waste of points. I think Clefable is not worth 180 points. I think it's a good mon. I think it's a dangerous mon. I just don't, and I don't think like I want to say I don't think like Agron Mega and Clefable's that good like a core. And Kieran Black together, I don't think on that actually makes like a good core or anything. Like cores can be, I mean, really just good synergy is what the thing is, and I don't think it has like that good of synergy. Honestly, like, I mean, he got Z Del Mize over for Z. I just don't like. I actually don't like Clefable on 180. Like I said, yeah. What else? I mean, the team, to me, the issues are more in the value of the team. Like Mega Aggron. Mega Aggron, to me, is the worst. I think it was a loss of at least 60 points to anyone who took it. So that's one of the bigger reasons why I'd say this has to be 10. Even though like because AJ's team is so much more threatening to me. Like this team, its breakers are like Kieran Black, Delmise, and I don't know if I want to consider Aggron Mega a breaker. His breakers are just like, it's Starmie kind of, but I don't know if I want to say that. Like his cleaning options aren't amazing. I mean, they're good. Like they're definitely solid. They're definitely usable. They might be better than average, but they're not like another level. I feel like AJ's breaking levels are another level. Like really threatening. But this team doesn't really have anything that just stands out superbly. Like Kieran Black is really threatening on this team, but there's going to be matchups where Kieran Black is the only thing that's like, whoa, I have to prep for this. You'd be like, okay, my team deals with Clefable just fine. My team deals with Starmie just fine. Oh, looks like Kieran Black's the only thing I have to really prep for. So I mean that could happen with Butterfree's draft. And that's why I think AJ needs to move up to number 9 actually on that. So now we're in the upper half of these drafts. And I'm gonna say number 8 is Doogal. I don't think I've touched. Oh, I have touched on Pimeo Forest. Okay. I think number 8 is Doogal. I think Doogal has a good draft. I think, again, everything Shinyspam and above, I definitely think are solid. And I think Doogal has a good draft. Like, okay, Doogal, like, I don't think Z Greninja is very good. Like that's one of the things like why he's not higher. I think the draft forms pretty well. He's like really good offense, like really threatening offense. Good hazards. Like Arrow, I think is decent. Paloswine is great. Mawile Mega can set hazards, and Greninja I think is great. Like he couldn't use more rockers, but I think he has good hazards. His removal is Latias, Crobat, and Arrow, which I like. I think he has good priority options, which I think is an underrated thing. Like he has Pylo, Greninja. He has Conk, Entei, and Mawile Mega with Sucker. So that's like really good priority options, which should help versus a lot of the teams I mentioned. I'm actually a big fan of Latias compared to most people. So I think that Latias at 160 is actually decent value. I'm not a big fan of Mawile Mega, but a lot of people are, and I do consider it one of the better mons because a lot of people can use it pretty well. I think Conk for 120 is actually really good value. People never pick it up, but I think it is good value. Entei for 100, honestly, to me, is fine as well. I think it's pretty good value. Like, he got decent value. I think Paolo for 80 points, honestly, like, I think it's just stayed 60, but I understand why it moved to 80, because people really love that thing, and there's definitely aspects of that thing that you can't get from other mons, and that really stand out about it. It really is a bulky mon. I think it really fits on his team, because otherwise he would have been weak to dragons, with Mawile Mega being his only fairy and only steel. I think Audino is a pretty poor draft decision. I don't think it really will do anything. I don't think it'll ever come. I think there's things you can get for 40 points that are just threats, like Barbarical or like even Electivire. To me, was you could slap that on any team and I still would have used it some weeks. I don't feel like Audino will ever come. I think you should always pick 40 points that will come regardless of how the synergy actually pairs up. So I don't like that pick. I do like that the draft overall. I think speed works out well. Things check out on this team. It is a threatening team. It again, like I can understand you putting this like anywhere between like 5 to 8, somewhere around there. Like it's a good draft. It is a good draft. So yeah, I mean everything like checks out pretty much on this draft. It's just a little bit of value here and there. And that's about it. I mean, you can justify things that you can definitely justify this draft being higher. But again, like anything in the top half to me, I think is a pretty good draft. Like I'm gonna have to keep saying that because like I feel like I'm only pointing out flaws or only nitpicking things. But for the most part, things look good, and then that's why I kind of omit them because I feel like, yeah, I'm trying to not do that as much. So number 7, I have Fizzle, which to me, I think his draft it's just good. I mean, it just is what it is. I don't think he has good Zmons. I mean, his draft could be worse than Doogal's. But yeah, like Zygarde and Wop are both very good cleaners. No, actually, yeah, this draft is worse than Doogal's. My bad. Yeah, he should be below Doogal. At 8. And Doogal should be 7th. That is another one. I'm gonna make a swap right there. he doesn't really have great breaker. I didn't notice that I don't think I noticed that before. Like Tisserina is one of his better breakers. I mean, he's great cleaners and he's good hazards. And I mean, I love myself some spikes. I love myself some T spikes. I love myself some rocks. But like, come on, you need some breaker. He doesn't have a great breaker. He needs like Bandit Zygarde, or like a Bandit Tisserina, or like um yeah, I mean, he doesn't have a good breaker. Um, yeah, I mean, to me, I'm very big on having like a good breaker. His team synergize is fine. Like any team up above 8 again, synergize is fine. His team should be, yeah, 8. And obviously Muckaloa and Lopunny work well together. I think that's been established like a million times. Muckaloa is with Psychic and Fairies. Lopunny Megas are fighting. Yeah, it's obvious. People have used that over and over. It's overused. Okay, like yeah. I mean, there's not even a whole lot to say other than this team doesn't have breakers, and otherwise it's like very synergetic. Yeah, that's all. That's all. I mean, it's a good team for like cleaning. It won't really deal well that well with fat. Other than that, it'll do pretty well. It'll do pretty well against offense. And I think mostly people will draft offense. So yeah. Okay, so number 6, I think I'm gonna give that to you, Inversify. Uh, his draft has like pretty good speed. Because he has Zero Order and Pidgeot Mega as his top speed. That's definitely like pretty good. Yeah, I mean, good priority as well with Breloom and Scissor and Zygarde 10%. Which I believe he always been like he's always hated like Zygarde 50. So it's kind of interesting he drafted Zyg 10, but it's very different because it's just more about the speed and it's much cheaper. Um, this team has like one of the better speed tiers here. I think size and heat train like go pretty well together. Prim, I've always been a big fan of like Prim. Uh, Zeraora is really like just kind of broken. I always love to see like Z heat train because people don't see that. It's like one of the better Zmons in the whole format. Like honestly, like heat train with Z is so much better than heat train without Z. It's one of the biggest differences. It really is, and people definitely under exaggerate that. Um, yeah, I would say that is usually under exaggerated. Like this team definitely doesn't have that many issues with it. Um, it's just pretty solid all around. Porygon 2 sets up like Trick Room like for Primarina. Also as well if it wants to. Like it has that option as well. I would have liked to have seen like maybe Zygarde have like a Z move, but he couldn't really fit that. So that kind of sucks. But other than that, like I'm also not that big of a fan for Pidgeot Mega for the price that he got it for. I feel like minus 20 isn't really worth it. I feel like it's bad value. I would have liked to have seen that be minus 60 because if you look at Heracross Mega right over there on AJ's team, that is minus 60. And Pidgeot Mega is, to me, definitely worse than Heracross Mega. And also, I'd say it's definitely worse than Sharpedo Mega as well. So I just wanted to say, like, that's, to me, that he got robbed. He should not have done that. That's not, I do not think that was a good pick. Even though, like, it really does help his speed, I think it wasn't necessary to do that. I think he would have been better off getting something for minus 60 or getting like a better mega in general than doing that, which I think was a choke play. Pivoting like also on this team though is like pretty good. He had like 5 pivots, and he has wolves too. Like honestly, like this draft, it feels like everything it really needs to. I think its value for the most part is good. Like I don't know about like Pidgeot, but that's about all I can say. Yeah. So my number 5, I'd like to say Slade. It probably has the number 5 draft. Um, and Slade's draft, where is it? I just lost where it was. Yeah, okay, he Destin. Um, it's the one with the Steela settlements. So it's immediately threatening. It definitely has like it's scary as shit because it has Steela and sand and webs and mints at a very cheap cost. It has Mega Manetric, which unfortunately doesn't fit that well. Heracross, I think, is extremely scary. I've seen that thing be kill leader before multiple times. I think under webs, Heracross is very scary. Um, I think he has some mons that have the potential to be defensive or offensive. His rockers are Excadrill, Gigalith, and I think that's about it, which is a little bit lackluster. But he also has Spikes and T-Spikes in Roserade. Like, this draft is just so, like, threatening. There's so many things that just... And then Vaporeon also has Wish Support, which you can provide to Steela, and Salamence does as well, but that's, like, irrelevant. I don't think, like, I don't think that the pivoting again. Like again, I have to mention, yeah. Under Trick Room, I think like Hoopa can also be like decent, or go into even Bangalith and do something like that. Like it could work. Yeah. It does have like some Z users I would have liked to have seen, but he couldn't fit. Like Excadrill, I think is a good Z user, but again, he couldn't fit that. Like overall, this team was like one of the most threatening teams like on this list. I think he did that last season as well in Kakuna. He had one of the more threatening drafts, but again, he didn't really focus on walls last season. I think he did a slightly better job, but he didn't really do a good job this season. Like Steela and Mence can kind of do something. Like he has more of a bulky team than last season, which isn't saying much. Obviously, like this is not bulky at all. This is like offense at the wazoo. And to me, it's just one of the teams you just don't want to play. And it's a little bit different than Shinyspam because it's more controlled. It's yeah. I mean, like this is just and it's also I feel like Shinyspam's more like a cleaner team, a setup kind of team. It doesn't really have as much instant offense other than like Orlando and maybe Volcanion, but I think Volcanion's not that great. Even though it's a good price, obviously. Like 100 is very good. I think like Destin like is more immediately threatening as well. Like Heracross, Excadrill, Mega Manetric, I think is immediately threatening in a sense in its own way. Solomon actually can be even too. So I think that's a big difference there. And I mean, his hazards are kind of mediocre. And his removal isn't like great either. Which is like funny because like last season he also had this problem where he didn't have great hazards. But I mean, it's not really hazard. I mean, his rocks. He also didn't have good rocks. But yeah, like yeah, I guess he didn't learn from that. Oh, my next pick was Money Guy. And money Guy, like his draft, let's see. Where is Money? I can't find him on the there he is. I'm blind. Okay. I mean, did they write anything? Yeah, I mean, you look at this draft. He has like good rocks, good removal. good speed. Like, I mean, he definitely checks off everything. I think the synergy works fine. Um, there's nothing really wrong with the team at all. It's threatening. I mean, it's a top 3 team. There's pretty much not really a problem with the team, and that should be like somewhat self-explanatory. Like, there's no problem with this team at all. And yeah, I mean the breakers work, the speed's good, and I just like it, you know. um, I mean, you just look at the things on the team, and you see like there's more options on this team. Pharaoh works well with B in my opinion too. Like for the queening, you set up the spikes and all. You know, it just works. It works better. And like you just look at how some of the Monk pair up. And it just looks cleaner than some of the other things. I think if I were to say there is a problem with this team, it would be that I don't think it has like a super good ground switch in. Like Mandibuzz is good, but I mean if I have to nitpick it, that's what I would say. I mean, but like, yeah. So I really don't think that's necessary. I don't think you should like. Why would I do that? So like, there's not really a problem with the draft. It's just pretty clean. I just don't think it's as threatening as some of the other drafts, or it's it's not like the value might not be as good. It might not synergize just quite as well as the other drafts, which you're probably thinking, why the hell is one of the drafts or how is this how has something not been said, or why is something still yet to be said or whatever, but because there are drafts with more problems than this that I'm gonna rank higher. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think that there's like it's just it's just a value thing. Why it isn't higher? Because if you look at what it has everything it needs. And then that's all there is to it. Like this draft has everything it needs. It's gonna do fine. I think it definitely goes positive. And yeah, I think money will make playoffs. So my number 3 draft is the draft I'm saying definitely has more problems than Money Guy's draft, and I really don't want to reveal why I think it's as good as it is completely, because I have a lot of reasons I think it's good. Because I think that synergy is incredibly deceptive. And it's Robin's draft. I think Robin has the 3rd best draft. Not because it's actually that good, but just because I don't think people will understand the way to actually beat it. And how it actually kind of is supposed to function. And I'm just gonna say I kind of agree with almost every pick. And maybe Robin doesn't even realize exactly what I'm saying. I don't even know. But I'm gonna go over the parts that are more obvious, because there are definitely less obvious things that this draft accomplishes. So one of the more obvious things is that Kamao, its answers are very well covered by Jirachi. Those two pair very well together. I feel like the rocks on this team are very good. You when you look at the team, there's not really a rock weakness at all. Even though like the removal is just kind of like, it's all right. It's like Togekiss, Renamos, Staraptor. It's usable for sure. And the team has a lot of breaking potential. I mean, I think there's just a lot of things. Though, again, I just want to say there's a lot of things that the team synergy is, in my opinion, the most threatening that there is, just because you won't be able to really see it coming. You won't really notice it unless you it will make you think things put in work that don't put in work, pretty much, and that makes it's going to be extremely threatening in that regard. It's by far the most deceptive team, and what looks good against it versus what is good against it. And that is just something I don't want to talk about because I feel like it would reveal too much about the draft. That's something like if the coach is like do it on your own time, honestly. Because I looked into this draft and it's definitely very very well done. Yeah, I mean it does have low speed. I think it will struggle with some of the better breakers. Um, and I think that's something that all eyes can see. I think that's something that's not deceptive about the team. I think it's going to struggle with some of the better breakers. I think it's a little bit ground and ice weak, like something like Mamo, but I feel like everything is a little bit ground and ice weak. Just maybe just a little bit more. And yeah, I mean that I don't really want to talk about it more. Because I think that would just kind of give away a little bit about what I really like, what's really going on. So yeah, I'm just gonna move on. So my number two, I actually have AVP. I think that his speed is like one of the things that I definitely like about the draft. Like he definitely has good speed. I think he has good Z users as well. I think the regen cores are definitely going to be annoying. I think it's got really nice fat to it. Its breakers are sufficient. I think they definitely like check out. They work. The hazard setting removal shouldn't be an issue again. I don't think it has like some like super like crazy threatening thing about it. It does have like trick room string, which is a nice niche. I think it's very smooth. Like it's just like not very flawed at all. And it's a very balanced squad in my opinion. It stacks on a little bit of weaknesses, but that's not really a problem. I think it just checks out with everything in general. Um, it's like its pivoting is also very very good. Like it will be able to move around pretty well, and it's also got fat. So, uh, yeah, and it might be a little bit passive here and there, like with Umbreon. But I don't think it's really passive. Like there's whims and I mean, not really. It's really not passive, but there's Umbreon. So yeah, like this draft is like money's draft first. It's just no real problem. It's just like I think this is like a better value than money's draft right here. I think he just got some of the better deals. I think it's more like yeah, I mean, I feel like people are just gonna struggle with it more. It doesn't really need to be explained. I think he got some of the better value picks. Like I think Slow King is a good value pick. I definitely yeah. I'm a fan of Whim, but I know other people aren't. People think it's an unmod. Ursa Ring I think is actually good for 20. I know people talk about Zangoose. I think both of them work. I think Slow King Ursa Ring is cool. I think it will work out decently well. I just think like this team is pretty solid. It just checks out. You know, like this. Not a lot. Like I could go in and say things are good, but I'll be saying everything basic is good. I wouldn't really be able to talk about how things work other than like saying that this helps this do this, and you know, I mean, that's I have to say that about everything, you know, and obviously like there's a little bit of problems with some of the stacked weaknesses, but like I think fire was one of them. it's not really worth going into because he really doesn't have an actual problem with fire. He has Soul King, a Mega Amphi, and yeah, it's just natural bulk as well. So I don't think he does. So yeah, I mean, I think the number one team is Saint, and he doesn't have like I mean, he yeah. So this team, I think, is very threatening with Mega Zam, which I think is one of the best megas in the format, if not the best mega in the format, even better than Mega Mawile. Even I think it is definitely has that. There's definitely an argument to be made about that. I think that Orlando T is incredibly reliable, and I would never say that Orlando T team is gonna be like below the top half unless there was something completely wrong with it. Like it's pretty hard to fuck up one of those teams. And I don't think he did it. I think it has good bulk. I think it's extremely threatening. I think all Orlando T teams with Orlando T Alakazam mega teams are going to be extremely threatening. It covers everything like pretty well. It's like it's not passive really, even though it's like really kind of got some nice meaty like bulk to it and everything. It's not passive. It's still got good hazards and like removal and stuff. I feel like its speed it kept up with that pretty well. There is a little bit of a gap, of course, between like Zam and Terrakion, and I would have liked to have seen that gotten filled. I think that would have improved on the team, but it's not that big of an issue. I don't think. I think there's Mega Zam is like just enough to make your speed very good, and I think Orlando T is also a good scarfer. I think Rotom can do the same thing, be a good scarfer. I think Shaman can be a good scarfer. I would have liked to have seen a Trick Room option, which I don't see. Potentially, it would have been nice, like, but that's always an option. It's just optional. I think there's really good value on this team. Druddigon, I think, is a good dragon type, and I think it fits the team well. I think, yeah, I feel like it does, and I don't think it really has a weakness. I don't think there's a real problem with the team. In general, it just kind of covers what it needs to cover. It's got a really strong top that it can't talk. I can't say that about most teams here. I feel like most of them don't have like aren't very top heavy. The exception of to that being AJ, which I think is extremely top heavy. And honestly, really, really threatening for where I ranked it. But yeah, I mean, I think Saints team is probably the best team. So, in order, I would say my rankings would be Rampage at 16, Jarrett at 15, Zern at 14, Ben at 13, Lapis at 12, Shinyspam at 11, Mega Butterfree at 10, AJ at 9, Fizzle at 8, Doogal at 7, Inversify at 6, Slade at 5, Money Guy at 4, Robin at 3, ABP at 2, and Synced at 1. I think that's a fair assessment of where the teams are. Obviously, it's extremely subjective. Like, to be honest, I think these drafts are all pretty solid except for 3 that I started with. I would be fine with taking any of those drafts over most of my drafts that I've drafted. Like last season and this season, no, but Yeah, I think this Kakuna season looks strong. And yeah, I think that's about it. I think that's all I really have for you guys. And that yeah, see you.